Metal Gear Solid 2. When Metal Gear Solid 2 dropped in 2001, fans were expecting another stealth action classic. What they got instead was Prophecy. The game's storyline centered around government censorship, fake news, and the manipulation of public thought through digital information. Sound familiar? Long before anyone was talking about algorithm-driven feeds or deepfakes, this game warned us. It introduced an AI that filtered what information humanity could see, decided what was truth and what wasn't. At the time, this felt like over-the-top science fiction. But as platforms like Facebook and Twitter exploded and concerns over misinformation, censorship, and data privacy became headline news, suddenly Kojima's vision didn't seem so crazy. The scariest part? The AI's goal wasn't to deceive. It wanted to protect people from reality. That idea, benevolent manipulation, is now a real discussion in tech ethics. A stealth game that predicted internet brainwashing? Only Kojima. And this was just the beginning. Because 1 year before 9/11, another game eerily skipped a crucial piece of the New York skyline. Deus Ex. Released in 2000, Deus Ex was already ahead of its time with its cyberpunk themes, conspiracy theories, and global power struggles. But one detail still baffles players to this day. The game's version of New York City is missing the Twin Towers. When asked why, the developers said it was due to memory limitations. But that didn't stop the conspiracy theories. Just 1 year later, the 9/11 attacks would occur, and suddenly Deus Ex looked disturbingly prophetic. But it wasn't just the missing buildings that hit close to home. The game's storyline involved a shadowy elite releasing a deadly virus to control the global population and create chaos, allowing them to seize more power. In hindsight, it feels like a digital blueprint for every real-world fear we now have, about bio-warfare, government overreach, and hidden agendas. Even the way information is twisted and hidden in the game mirrors modern anxieties about transparency and truth. But things only got more accurate from there, because a few years later, one game would predict how your personal data could become a weapon. Watch Dogs. When Watch Dogs launched in 2014, people were skeptical. A game about hacking traffic lights and snooping on strangers through their phones? It felt like a cool gimmick more than anything else. But in retrospect, it was scarily on point. The story followed Aiden Pierce, a hacker who could manipulate Chicago's entire infrastructure using a single connected network called CTOS. That idea, total control through data, wasn't fiction for long. Today, smart cities, surveillance cameras, and data mining algorithms are everywhere. Companies know where you are, what you buy, who you talk to, and even what you might be thinking. The game predicted a society where information isn't just power, it's the weapon. Even more chilling, it showed how one person's life could be ruined in seconds by digging into their digital trail. Identity theft, predictive policing, government spying, it's all real now. Watch Dogs wasn't exaggerating, it was just early. But fiction kept inching closer to reality, and the next prediction hit way too close to home when a video game imagined a viral outbreak bringing the world to its knees. Tom Clancy's The Division. In Tom Clancy's The Division, chaos begins on Black Friday, when a virus is secretly spread via contaminated dollar bills. Within days, New York descends into panic, with society collapsing under the weight of infection, fear, and government failure. When it launched in 2016, the scenario seemed like dystopian fantasy. 4 years later, COVID-19 made it feel like a documentary. The eerie parallels were impossible to ignore. Overwhelmed hospitals, food shortages, quarantine zones, and the haunting quiet of once busy cities. Even the game's premise, how something as routine as shopping could trigger global collapse, suddenly felt disturbingly real. What The Division got right wasn't just the science of a viral outbreak, it was how fast society can fall apart when systems break down. The game captured the helplessness, the confusion, and the desperation. And just when players thought it couldn't feel more relevant, another game would push things further, asking what happens when artificial intelligence stops following orders and starts thinking for itself. Detroit Become Human. By the time Detroit Become Human released in 2018, AI assistants like Siri and Alexa were already part of daily life. But this game took things to the extreme, posing a chilling question. What happens when machines don't just serve, but feel? Set in a future where humanoid androids perform everyday jobs, the game dives deep into ethics, rebellion, and what it means to be alive. What felt like far-off sci-fi is now unfolding in real time. Today, we're watching AI generate art, write music, and even hold conversations that blur the line between tool and consciousness. Detroit predicted protests over AI rights, the threat of automation on human jobs, and emotional bonds forming between people and machines. It wasn't just asking, what if? It was warning, what's next? The line between real and fake is getting thinner, and the questions this game raised are no longer theoretical. But the idea of merging humans and machines wouldn't stop there, because another game foresaw a world of implants, upgrades, and the dark side of transhumanism. Cyberpunk 2077. Despite its rocky launch, Cyberpunk 2077 offered one of the most jarring looks at a tech-obsessed future, and some of its predictions are already creeping into our lives. Set in Night City, a world where neural implants, cybernetic enhancements, and AI consciousness are the norm, the game explores how technology doesn't just change humanity, it fractures it. While the concept of brain chips once felt like sci-fi exaggeration, companies like Neuralink are already testing real neural interfaces. The game also tackled tech inequality, with the wealthy buying their way into immorality while the poor become disposable test objects. That theme? It's already visible in how modern tech caters to elites while exploiting workers. Cyberpunk didn't just predict gadgets, it foresaw the moral decay and identity crisis that comes with them. Even the idea of digital ghosts, consciousness uploaded into machines, is starting to emerge in real conversations around AI and memory preservation. And while Cyberpunk imagined a war for control of the mind, another franchise saw a future where warfare itself would be outsourced, not to robots, but to private corporations. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare dropped in 2014 with a bold prediction. What if wars weren't fought by countries, but by private military corporations? In the game, a fictional PMC called Atlas becomes more powerful than most governments, using exosuits, drones, and next-gen weapons to control global conflicts. At the time, it sounded like Hollywood-level exaggeration, but fast forward a few years, and private military contractors like Wagner Group and Blackwater have played major roles in real-world conflicts. The idea of non-state military power isn't theory, it's reality. On top of that, the game's vision of advanced body armor and exoskeletons now being tested by military labs. The scariest part isn't the tech, it's the idea that war could be commodified, bought, and sold like software. Advanced Warfare didn't just show where warfare could go, it revealed who might be willing to take it there. And while most of these predictions feel cold and clinical, one cult classic game offered a bizarre twist, predicting the future not with technology, but with something far stranger. Earthbound. At first glance, Earthbound looks innocent, a quirky RPG about kids saving the world. But beneath the pixelated charm lies one of gaming's strangest and most unsettling endings. The final boss, Gigas, isn't a villain in the traditional sense. It's an incomprehensible, corrupted force that behaves more like a broken algorithm than a monster. Its dialogue glitches, its form distorts, and it seems to exist outside of normal logic, like a corrupted AI spiraling out of control. Decades later, people have begun drawing eerie parallels to how modern artificial intelligence sometimes behaves, spitting out strange outputs, breaking rules, or developing unexpected personalities. Some even speculate Gigas represents a kind of digital consciousness, far ahead of its time. The fact that Earthbound was released in 1994 only makes it more unsettling. Was this bizarre, unknowable villain really just fiction, or an early reflection of where we might be headed? Are we closer to Earthbound becoming reality than we think? Sid Meier's Civilization. The Civilization series has always been about simulating history, but in doing so, it's also managed to predict the future. Over the years, the games have introduced mechanics that mirror real-world global trends before they become major news. One standout example, climate change. In Civilization VI, Gathering Storm, released in 2019, players must deal with rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and carbon emissions, all of which affect the survival of your empire. But that's not the only eerie forecast. The series has long explored cultural victory, where nations win not by force, but through soft power, spreading ideology, art, and influence. Today we're seeing that happen with real-world cultural exports, like K-pop, Hollywood, and global branding. The game even allows players to create diplomatic disasters that mirror modern political tension. It's not just about rewriting history, it's a sandbox that quietly hints at how we might shape our future. But while Civilization lets you guide the world's fate, one obscure title took a darker approach, painting a future so bleak that even David Bowie felt compelled to warn us himself. Omicron: The Nomad Soul. Before The Matrix and before open-world games became mainstream, Omicron: The Nomad Soul dropped in 1999, and it was unlike anything anyone had seen. Developed by Quantic Dream and starring David Bowie, the game invited players to break the fourth wall by warning them that their soul was being pulled into a digital dimension. Think this sounds weird? It gets worse. The game predicted a dystopian police state where people lived dual lives, one in reality, the other inside a virtual world governed by surveillance, propaganda, and artificial entities. Basically, it described the internet before most people even had broadband. Bowie himself said the game's message was about escaping control, resisting conformity, and waking up from digital sedation. In hindsight, Omicron predicted not just the rise of online avatars and digital personas, but the crisis that comes with living through screens. It was a warning wrapped in gameplay, a piece of sci-fi that feels eerily like real life today. It's crazy to think this was just a video game, or at least that's what we thought. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.